Hey, what's good, y'all? J Boogie in full effect mode. Bun down is the sound. You know how we do. This is, of course, the Lounge Presents. And today in the lounge space, we have a special guest. This is Fam from Time.
Mhm.
Been knowing this guy, Matt. Okay, like if I think personally about all the homies in the industry. I mean, we go back.
Yeah, man, it's been a minute. If I remember correctly, it might have been one of the first shows that Monolith did in Winnipeg. So
Hell yeah.
that would be the 90s,
Yes, man.
late 90s, man. Yeah. Good to
Yes,
see
man.
you, bro.
So good to see you. And I think off top, one thing that I would like to say is that one thing that makes me happy is to see that you are still doing the damn thing.
No doubt.
Daniel is still very much in full effect. And the Daniel now, from the Daniel back then, is also now an actor,
Yeah.
a rapper, community leader. Like the
No
growth,
doubt. And a
the growth,
father. So much has
and a
changed.
father. Good
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
man.
That's the
Yes.
biggest deal.
Yes, man. Yes, man. So we're going to start off the way we do with every episode. We're going to find out how Daniel was first introduced to hip hop culture.
Yeah, man. That's crazy. After all these years, I guess we never had that talk. I remember it absolutely very clearly. I was introduced to hip hop culture as a 10-year-old, bro. I was in grade 4 and on a camping trip with my school. Now, back then, for whatever reason, they had this crazy idea to keep all of the medication of all of the children in one
Yes.
cabin with one
Yeah.
teacher, as opposed to having the children's medication in the cabin where they were actually sleeping. Now, back then, my asthma used to get at me real bad.
Okay.
And because I was on a camping trip and all around nature, dude, I was coughing up a storm one night, having an asthma attack, and keeping up everybody in my cabin. So
Damn.
my teacher had to send another student to go to another cabin to get my inhaler. I didn't have it on me. They had to go get my
Oh,
puffer.
man.
They
That's
finally
wild.
come back with the puffer. I take it. I calm down. So I'm okay. But the whole cabin is awake. I couldn't tell you how many students were in there. So my teacher, shout out Mr. Nash, wherever you may be, my grade 4 teacher, the dude says, I need everybody to just, go to bed, relax, calm down. I'm going to put on some music to relax you guys. I don't know what made him select the Beastie Boys' License to Ill, but
For
that's the album.
relaxation.
He popped in that cassette and it changed my life forever. Um, I
Okay.
I I almost immediately started trying when I heard it, it blew my mind, and I almost immediately started my foray into rapping. I tried to write some raps when I got back home after that trip, and for the record, I was known as MC Rock D,
Why does
which
that not
was
surprise me?
yeah, man. Rock D, that was my original name. It was an amalgamation of the three Beastie Boys, MCA, Ad Rock, and Mike
Yep.
D.
You could
So
tell.
I was MC Rock D for about 2 years, and then I came up with Danny O when I was 12. Believe it or
Right.
not. So that's how it started, man, for
Man,
me.
so the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
License to Ill
Rest
will
in peace,
forever
Adam
hold a
Yauch.
very
Rest in
important
peace,
place
Adam
in my
Yauch.
heart. Rest in peace. Yes,
Yeah.
MCA.
I like that you bring up the Beastie Boys because when people talk about hip hop, you talk about rap. Some people talk about the Beastie Boys, but not
Hmm.
everybody talks about the Beastie Boys.
Right.
It's like their canon is only relevant to some folks, which is it is what it is,
Yeah.
right? Subjective, that's fine. It's all gravy, but it's kind of weird that the Beastie Boys are only mentioned in some conversations rather than in all conversations.
I wouldn't know for sure, but I would guess that maybe some people are purposely omitting them from
Oh
their
yeah.
list of influences
Oh yeah.
just because they think maybe they belong to a different type of genre within the world of hip hop. Because, of course, Beastie Boys has done everything from like rock sounding records to
Yep.
instrumental albums to
Yep.
they've experimented with a variety of sounds, but I think even on the License to Ill album, I mean, Fight
Yeah.
for Your Right to Party
Yeah.
was a dope track, but was a heavy rock influence. But there's no question you cannot listen to that album and not pick out like the new style or Paul Revere, certain things. And I actually said this yesterday in a songwriting workshop that I was teaching, that the Beastie Boys for my money, was one of the first rap groups that really helped deliver the back and forth style rap between the
Oh
three
yeah.
MC group. They would drop bars and rhyme with each other. So
Hmm.
not only were they one of the very first hip hop groups to influence me, but if we're being honest, one of the first hip hop groups on Def Jam. They were right there in the talks with, the Public Enemies and Run DMCs of the world. We're
Yep.
talking about the mid 80s to late 80s here. So, and on top of that, you got three white Jewish dudes from New York. I mean, there's reasons to exclude them, and none of them are valid. You understand? I
Yeah.
think Beastie Boys have every right to be part of the hip hop talk as any other group or artist that may have first come out or influenced you. And yeah, I mean, I have their entire catalog, and I'm gonna like certain records better than others, but
Oh yeah.
you can't exclude Beastie Boys from hip hop talks. I'm
Nah,
sorry.
man. Well, I like that you mention their flow,
Yeah.
because one reason why you can't escape the Beastie Boys is the fact that their flow came from Run DMC.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, even on their later records, like for the Five
Oh yeah.
Boroughs,
They developed
they
that. Woo.
yeah, they maintain that back and forth style.
Hmm.
They maintain that early, even pre-golden era style rap,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
made something new that was like entrenched in the old school.
Yep.
So they're one of those groups who I, I was going to mention Black Eyed Peas for a completely different reason. When Black Eyed Peas chooses to make hip hop, they can, and Beastie Boys is. That's why I would bring them up. They're in the category of they're not going to make necessarily every record to your taste if
Yep.
if you're a straight hip hop head, but
Yep.
they can
Yep.
make hip hop and have made hip hop
Yep.
with the best of them.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Interesting that you bring up the Black Eyed Peas. That's another conversation altogether.
for
But we're
sure.
not we're not talking about Black Eyed Peas. We're talking about Daniel.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
when you first discovered hip hop,
Hmm.
were the homies around you? Because when we were coming up, it was kind of different. So I'm
Big
curious,
time.
when you discovered the culture, were the homies around you discovering it at the same time as you, or were you kind of odd person out till they kind of figured out, discovered it on their own?
Yeah. To my recollection, I remember being the first of it's interesting you asked that because I remember we were put into groups on that camping trip. We created our own groups with our own group of friends. And
Is that
and
where
I
the two
was
crews started?
no, it's funny you bring that
Okay.
up because
Okay.
that's actually pre too weird. So the fact that you
Oh.
bring that up shows some history. But shouts to my brother Jay Trill, uh, who is a member of Too Weird and still my brethren and barber to this day.
Hey.
But right before that, we weren't in the same group. So this is interesting.
Okay.
In grade 4, the group was called Bad Boys. Now, none of these guys were rappers, right? And I remember writing my first rap as a member of the Bad Boys, even though the Bad Boys had nothing to do with hip hop at all. It wasn't until later that year, basically when I went into grade 5, that my brother Jamie James, shouts to him, my boy J Trill, we became boys, and we collectively really were mega hip hop fans. We would buy whatever record and tape we could get our hand on and then exchange it. And I love that I have the De La Soul 3 Feet High and Rising right behind me,
Mm.
because that album was a massive influence to the first Too Weird album. So J Trill and I called ourselves Too Weird because we had a very weird sense of humor. But similarly to the 3 Feet High and 3 Feet High and Rising album, we created skits and jokes and silly
Okay.
interludes because De La Soul
Okay.
introduced that. So um, it was within the year, it wasn't right away. I started writing raps right away, and then within the year, I was writing raps for my boy Jamie, and then eventually J Trill and I would write raps together, and that's when I started like recording my own raps as a member
Okay.
of that duo Too Weird.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Nice. So fast forward a little bit. You have figured it out. You've realized, or did you? Question.
Yeah,
Did you know then? Was that your epiphany moment, or did it come later?
absolutely.
It was. Okay.
I
Okay.
would say it was the sequel. It was part 2 of my epiphany moment, because my
Okay.
first epiphany moment came at the age of 5 when Michael Jackson's Thriller came out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes
So
sense.
that's right behind me too, behind my own album. All of Michael's stuff, all of the Jackson stuff. When Thriller came out, that was the life changing moment for me, because I knew I had to be a musician and an entertainer. MJ's still my favorite to this day. Like I was such a hardcore fan to the point where even as a 5 or actually 6-year-old, by the time it came out, when Thriller came on TV, bro, I remember asking my babysitter to change the channel during the scary parts, but make sure you put it back on time for his singing and dancing. Um, you know, so I knew that's what I had to do. It just
Yeah.
took another 5 years for me to discover hip hop and realize, okay, I think I can do this better than trying
Right.
to sing and dance like MJ. So that's why I say it was Epiphany Part 2, because I
Okay.
knew I was going to be a musician without question early in life, but
Yeah.
hip hop became my world after that discovery of the Beastie Boys.
Okay. Okay. So with the Beastie Boys aside, was there any other aspect of the culture that you were introduced to that maybe kind of had you thinking, well, maybe I want to do this instead, or maybe I want to do both?
Yeah, I never got that heavy into any other facet as a not a- as a fan, yes. But
Mm,
I've been on turntables cutting and scratching and can do it with
I
minimal skill.
don't doubt it.
I did
Mm,
dance in elementary and high school. Like
don't doubt that either.
scoop and scrap lover, not
Hell yeah.
yeah. Speaking of Jatro, like when we were in elementary school, and I just visited my elementary school to do a workshop yesterday. Shouts to Prince of Peace, yo. When we were at Prince of Peace as grade 7s and grade 8s, we would perform on stage as part of a lip sync contest that was part of the end of year fun.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we did It's Hard Being the Cane. My brother BJ, shouts to BJM, was Big Daddy BJ, and Scoop Lover and Scrap Lover was played by myself, Dan Lover and Jay Lover. So I was we the whole routine. You can go YouTube. It's Hard Being the Cane by Big Daddy Kane, and that dance routine we did. So I danced. I dabbled in DJing. I've never been a good visual artist. I got graffiti on my album cover, but I sure couldn't do it myself. So, and of course, I teach all the elements of hip hop extended to other elements. I never stop at 4. I teach about beat making and beatboxing. That I can do. I can beatbox. I talk about the fashion of hip hop, the language of hip hop, and the slang we use. So I have been a fan of all of it. But obviously, I believe MCing to be my calling.
That was definitely your calling, without a doubt.
Thanks.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
What kind of music were you growing up around the house?
Around the house. It's funny. I think, do I have it? Yeah, it's right behind me because I'm literally sitting beside my turntable. But I grew up with this around the house,
Hey.
and this remains my favorite Bob Marley and the
Nice.
Wailers album. I think the movie actually drops today. As a matter
Yes,
of fact.
man.
That's
That sounds
crazy.
like, yo,
How
you
crazy is
planned
that?
that. You planned
I
that.
swear I didn't. This was on the turntable. It's always on the turntable. I have his whole collection too on vinyl.
Okay.
But this record, it's funny. It's funny you asked me that question because of all of the Bob Marley albums I have. This one, for anyone who really knows their stuff, is the one with the tough gong label. So this is
Yeah.
directly from Jamaica.
Yeah.
His international stuff, the same exact albums will be on like Island Records.
Island, yeah.
But
that's Tough Gong.
This is a Tough Gong Jamaican pressing of Uprising. And this is the one Bob Marley album that belonged to my parents. And I fell in love with his music. So this is obviously mine. And I completed my collection and have everything he's ever made.
Nice.
So I grew up with this around the house. I also have some of my dad's, may rest in peace, records in the back, which was Byron Lee and the Dragonaires. So
peace to your dad. Peace to your dad.
thank you, sir. So Jamaican Calypso, believe it or not, was my dad's favorite music. Calypso in general, not Jamaican, but Byron Lee and the Dragonaires.
Yeah, what is it with Calypso though, right?
He loved it and loved Jamaican
God,
women too. So, clearly. So around the house, there was reggae and Calypso, but I also, of course, grew up, pretty much with 80s music, man. So 80s pop and rock. So everything from Duran Duran, David Bowie, Culture Club, Hall & Oates. Those were some of my favorites growing up, in addition to the MJs and that kind of thing. But that's what I heard around the house. Those were my parents' records, man. The
Man,
Calypso and reggae.
I love what you just shared with us, because one of the reasons why I asked that particular question of everybody is because it shows a lot. It shows how connected we all actually are. It shows how similar our backgrounds actually are. And this is a commonality across the board. I'm talking since we started doing the Lounge Presents in the pandemic. That one question has been consistent. We are all connected by the same fucking backgrounds.
Yeah.
Legit, man.
Yeah, I would agree with that, especially to be honest with you, being from Toronto, especially in Scarborough, the east side of Toronto, is like super multicultural. So
Yep.
my brother Jay Trill, as you might already know, he's Filipino. I grew up
Yep.
around lots of Filipino, Asian, Black, white, Indian,
Yep.
Hispanic, everybody. I myself am of mixed race, being Spanish
Yes,
and
you are.
Jamaican. So everything about being where
You're
I'm
mixed.
from,
What?
I know, right? Everything about being where I'm from is being indoctrinated in mixed cultures. And I think the music that we all know and love sort of speaks to that, because
Oh yeah.
while all those artists I mentioned are from a variety of different musical genres, I even have a Twisted Sister album. And it's funny because I just quoted one of their songs in one of my recent features. There's a brand new song called Spark That by the Flavonoids out now on Spotify.
Oh,
So I do an opening verse in that song and mention Twisted Sister. We're not going to take it, because I remember that record from the 80s. And it's like, you're right. It doesn't matter where you're from, your culture, your background, your ethnicity. Music really binds us. And
oh
that's why I
man.
love when I teach about hip hop, I do discuss it as being a culture, because it does involve modes of expression and unity and community. And it's not based on, race, religion, age, gender. Music binds us all. And if you look at that
Yes.
as a culture, then we're all one. And I
Very
love
much
that. And
so.
that's Bob's message too. God bless him. You
Oh
know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So,
Hell yeah.
yeah.
All right, let's fast forward a little bit
Hmm.
and let's talk about these two pivotal crews that would eventually make the mighty monolith.
Yeah. You know too much, man. You got all of the history
We've been knowing
locked
each other
in.
that long, though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So fast forward to high school, and I form a crew called the Lyrical Coalition. Um, Members include my brother Spider-Man, who's now Parker, of course,
Yes.
Grimace Love, Charisma, aka Skiz. Like, these are all
God damn.
yeah, man, all brothers of
Salute to
mine who,
all those boys.
yeah. And then, of course, so we're from North Scarborough. And South Scarborough, there was a crew called the Horde. That was
Yes.
Corey D's and
Yes.
Black Cat and Landscape and Nish Rocks. And we met up. As a matter of fact, I just spent the weekend over at Corey D's. Our daughters are besties.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
And we brought up the fact that, it's 2024, making it an exact 30 years since Monolith became a crew. So the anniversaries are just insane now when we think about the amount of time that has passed. And what was really dope is our attitude back then, because we didn't look at each other as rivals, right? They're a
Right.
crew, we're a crew, right?
Yeah.
We're from North Scarborough, you're from South Scarborough. And then we connect. And from my recollection, it was all love. I couldn't even tell. I don't know if Grimace met Corey. It was like two dudes of each crew met each other, and then we were
Mhm.
introduced to the rest of them. And we would just support each other at talent shows, or like literally anything that we were doing. And I think it only took a year or so before those two crews, the Lyrical Coalition and the Horde, became one. And if I'm not mistaken, Corey came up with Monolith, representing One
Mm.
Rock, which would be the name of our label. And it represented unity, a togetherness, and an unbreakable force that, ironically, after all these years, even though musically we went in a lot of different directions, we
Right.
remain brothers to this day.
Hell yeah.
And that's why sometimes when Monolith, people will ask me about Monolith on the day it all changed, that album, I have a song called Family Stays, which is basically answering the question about, so whatever happened with Monolith? And I'm like, we're family. Like,
Yeah.
that's what's happened. We're
Yeah.
still Monolith. So it all happened, yeah, 30 years ago, bro.
Well, I love you depict it on your social media when you guys get together,
Yes,
and
sir.
you get together, and the best part is when you get together with all your children. I'm like, wow,
Yeah,
look at that.
for sure.
That's
Yeah,
such
no,
a
that's
wonderful thing.
it is. It's the hugest blessing by far, to know that obviously we remained family, and now our kids are. Like I said, for Corey and I have daughters who are besties, and like kids all know each other or whatever. And you're right. That is literally the point of family, which is why that song appears on the album, and it's the way I describe the crew.
For real, for real.
And just like family, we've all had our ups and downs and ins and
Oh
outs
yeah.
with each other, but we're still here.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Did the crews battle at all? Was there ever a point where you were like, you think y'all so bad, but we think we're badder, so
Like
let's
our
let's
crew battling
set it
other
in
crews
stone? No, lyrical chord
with
versus
each other.
yeah.
We have done all kind of fun battling between each other
Mhm.
on our own time in our own private spaces, for sure.
Okay. There was
Um,
never an actual Okay, you know what? We're gonna lay it down on stage. Crew versus
No,
crew. Okay.
no. As a matter of fact, what we did do, it's funny, right? You're just reminding me. What we did do at one point is we had a lot of different dudes hanging with us who are all rhymers who effectively were our crew. But we got to a point, I remember, it was for sure in the 90s, man, where we actually had our own private auditions and we literally auditioned
Nice.
ourselves because
Nice.
you reminded me
You're
there
in
was
your
a
spot
time.
type shit.
Yeah, dude.
Nice.
There was a time.
Love
This
it.
is legit. There was a time when there were about 30 or so dudes who were the crew. And we had our own private audition, call it what you want, showcase. And it was in Charisma's basement at the time when he was living in Scarborough. And we all performed just for
Dope.
each other.
I
Okay.
love
It
it.
was a private, just the monolith. And bro, this is crazy. We literally had little pieces of paper that we would write a check mark or an X on for an anonymous vote. We'd throw the votes in the hat and the votes would
Y'all
be
went there.
selected. We did. And the votes, you got majority votes and you were in. And I remember it was interesting because it did whittle down the crew a little bit. Not everybody made it.
That would, yeah.
And technically speaking, the monolith, even though we had members that we incorporated who were like graffiti artists, shouts to Duro 3 and Case, original mono members,
That's
and
right. Yeah.
DJs and producers. Eventually, the group that would stick together and put out music was about 12 of us. So we were taking it pretty seriously to take that route.
Definitely.
All back then as teens.
Now, when you we're gonna get to a point where you're already moving. You guys are moving as a crew, but you on your own, representing the crew, dropped what one can only call a seminal rap joint in Canadian history.
Man,
and if you don't know this, you've got some homework to do. Go back to school. Come back when you're ready.
For real.
Because Dear Hip Hop is literally a seminal rap joint in the Canadian rap canon. And you were how old when you wrote and recorded that?
Wrote 17, recorded 18.
There you go.
And it was released when I was 19.
Do you see that?
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking about?
You know what? That just
when I was 18.
that was 30 years ago. Yeah. I know,
yes,
man. Yeah. 94.
But you at 18, you were like, oh, I'm dropping this joint. And this joint would go on to become. Do you sometimes feel like you're in the shadow of that joint?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I've halfway jokingly called it the gift and the curse. And I know there's a clip out there that exists from the Drop the Needle documentary. If you haven't seen it, Amazon Prime, everybody. Great documentary on Play to Record. And they gave me some really cool outtakes from that because they did ask me about that and why Dear Hip Hop is the gift and the curse. And because it's now something that I wrote 30 years ago and it was released almost 30 years ago, which I can't believe it. The amount of time that's flown by. It's that, I'm thankful, by the way, of course. So this is what makes it the gift. Shouts to Beat Factory and the Rap Essentials Volume 1 album, because being part of that record.
Ivan Berry salute.
Yeah, absolutely. John Stamos, not Stamos. My God, my daughter watches Full House. That's her favorite show, and she binge watches it on DVD.
So you're thinking about Uncle Jesse.
Not John Stamos. I'm sorry, Jonathan Ramos.
Yeah, I knew you were going there.
Shouts Dwayne Wilson. Shouts Manson Trotman. Everybody at Beat Factory. Ivan Berry. I'm indebted to them because that album, obviously, they licensed Dear Hip Hop, put me on, and I was thankful, obviously, to be able to have a video for the song that was in rotation. So shouts to Much Music and everyone involved there. And then I went on tour. And going on tour with Shot Clear and YOK, thanks to Beat Factory, is what I think really helped Dear Hip Hop become this seminal record. And I'm very thankful to know, and they showed me actually back then how many people would actually write in back then, no internet yet. You writing in to talk about, like, people would talk about how Dear Hip Hop was their favorite record. And I think it just spoke
Physically
to
right
hip
in.
hop heads. Yeah, physically right in. I think
Physically
it
right.
spoke to hip hop heads because it's literally a letter to hip hop talking about how much I
Yes.
love it and how much I don't want to see it get hurt by this, that, and the third, and the stereotypes and the gang violence and whatever people think hip hop is, but really hip hop
Yep.
is this. And I'm
Yep.
trying to live that. And I'm proud to say here we are 30 years later. I'm still living that message.
Yep.
And I think that's what resonated with people. The curse part of it is that in those 30 years, I've made a ton of other records and accomplished
Hell
a
yeah.
number of other things in entertainment, but it
Yeah.
always goes right back to that. I ain't mad at it though. I'm not angry, because what it does is it challenges me to continue to surpass everything that I've done in the
Yeah.
past. I know, and this, in my heart of heart, I can promise you that my forthcoming 6th solo album is the best record I've ever made in my life by
Okay.
far.
That's what
And
I'm
I'm
saying.
looking forward to taking that energy that has always been, I'm the Dear Hip Hop guy, and turning it into brand new, like, here's a whole new reason to peep the Danny O catalog. So
Yeah.
I'm proud of it. I will never be, look down on the fact that, if anything, I got that one song that people will never let go of, but proud to say that I'm living the legacy that I discussed in that song. And I've never
Exactly.
let go of my drive or my dream to represent hip hop culture.
I'm gonna have to agree with you on the point that you make. The reason why that record was so big is because you were speaking for all of us, dog.
Yeah, I think so.
You were speaking for all of us at the
Yeah.
time when we saw something that was ours,
Yeah.
still is ours. Make no mistake, this is our culture. No matter how many people try to make money off it, it's still
Right.
ours, right? You spoke for us, man, and everything you said in that joint literally spoke for all of us. And honestly, that's why that joint resonates.
Yeah,
Because you
bro.
were speaking for every head in the country, man.
Yeah, which is all I was. I was just a fan, man. Like, on this album behind me, the Dear Hip Hop full length, almost every song is about having never put out a record before. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's hilarious. What ended up being the B-side, a song that I recorded on the same day as Dear Hip Hop, produced by Scam, same producer. Shouts to Scam, man. Song doesn't
Big up,
exist without
Scam.
Scam.
Big up, Scam.
Constipated was a euphemism for me having never dropped my shit. And that was
Okay. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
There's another song on the album called Incarceration, because I was not out. Right. I
Yeah.
wanted to get out. So
Yeah.
all of these euphemisms about being a dope MC and not having a record out was all my energy was. That's where my energy was as a 17, 18-year-old. And so I do think it spoke for hip hop fans, because that's all I was at the time. I was
Yep.
a big hip hop fan, and that's what I had to say about it.
Definitely. Most
Yeah.
definitely. Do you remember a program that was on Chum or Much called Electric Circus?
Oh, dude, what do you mean?
Do you
How
recall any memories about
Oh,
Electric
that's
Circus?
funny, man. Oh, man.
Just out of curiosity.
Another entity that I'm indebted to. Actually, to be fair, yeah, I mean, we're not, we're going back in time now, because this is before Rap
Yeah,
Essentials.
this is before Rap Essentials.
13 years old, watching Electric Circus. See, this is how I discovered Maestro Fresh West. He performed Let Your Backbone Slide
Yeah.
on Electric Circus in
Yep.
'88. And
Shout out Maestro.
big shout out Maestro, because that
Godfather.
moment
Hell
in
yeah.
time, we talked earlier about moments in time, or my foray into hip hop. That moment in time was huge for me, because it was my first real taste of a dope MC from Toronto, getting some love on television. And eventually that's how he got his first record deal. And I thought, not only am I a fan of his music, but he's from the same city as Scarborough and everything. He's from where I'm
Yeah,
from. And
man.
I'm like, dude, I think I can do this. So 2 years later, Electric Circus was having a rap off contest to win LL Cool J tickets. And I had known that the previous winner, there was an MC Hammer contest a year or whatever it was before, that the artist who had won, Frank Morel, ended up having a music video out as part of a group called Brothers from the Ghetto. And
Yeah, Brothers
Frank
from the
Morel,
Ghetto. Damn.
he won that contest. So when they said the second time around, and I wasn't like that big, I wasn't an MC Hammer fan actually at all, but LL Cool J, I'm like, oh, I'm going to enter this contest. And I remember thinking, I like LL and everything, but the real reason I'm entering this thing is, like, I think this will be my ticket. And I
Yeah.
was so confident in it. shouts to my big brother Lindo P, who took me to his crib, and we
yo.
just recorded lyrics over him going back and forth on the turntables. I had no producer. I had never been to a recording studio before, but we sent in that cassette, and I remember writing on it in a piece of paper. I wrote, "Trust me, this is the winner." The song was called "Can't Test Me." I was as bold and brash and braggy as a
This called Can't
13-year-old
Test
could
Me.
be. And hey, bro, nobody could test me. I won the contest, and that's what really got me going, man. So super shouts to Electric Circus. Monica Diol, George Lagagenis, and Tarzan Dan were all there.
Dan.
Yeah, to introduce us as the winner at the end of that episode. And that's actually on YouTube and is legitimately the absolute earliest footage of me that I'm aware exists.
It's
Like
gotta be.
I'm too old for, my parents didn't have no smartphone taking photos
Yeah,
and videos
no
of me
kidding.
like I do of my daughter.
Yeah.
And I'm
man.
like, there's pictures, but as far as video is concerned, I don't think there's anything younger, like younger, that my younger years don't exist on video. So Can't Test Me, Partners in Rhyme was the name of the group, Lindo P and I on Electric Circus. And yeah, that's some YouTube searching for y'all.
I had to do that callback, man. I just had to
Oh
do
man,
that
yeah. Well, that's again how it all started, bro.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and
Now,
as I told my Prince of Peace students yesterday, I was a Prince of Peace student when I was on Electric Circus. That's how it all started, man. So you talk about coming full circle. I was literally at my school yesterday.
Yeah, but look how clutch that is.
It's crazy.
Knowing that the person that they're listening to
Mhm.
is literally a manifestation of what is possible,
Right.
if you want it.
Yeah, I definitely hope that's what they took from it. I know
Such a great message.
Yeah, thank you, man. And that I think is hip hop in and of itself. I really believe that when you are sharing something that is, as you said earlier, resonates with your audience. Hip hop is all about community. When rappers, real MCs are on stage, it's like Rakim said, to me, MC means move the crowd. So move the crowd. You're communicating. There's back and forth. There's call and response. It's like there is no energy without your audience being down with what you're doing. So I think when it comes to my workshops, I feel the same way. I want to resonate. I want to be able to leave them with something important that's a little bit bigger than just learning how to rap and understanding 4/4 time signature and rhyme patterns, but what to do with this beautiful art called hip hop. Because even if you're not rhyming, you can, through DJing, b-boying, graffiti art, beatboxing, and the various elements, express yourself in a way that can, help other people. You're sharing and you're growing a community. That's always been hip hop to me.
There you go. No other better way to put it. No other way to put it. Now, before we move on, there's one thing we've got to talk about, because I know personally, I was happy when I found this joint last week, when I found a couple of these older joints on the hard drive.
Oh man.
Back then, there was a joint called At the TOP, and then there was another joint called Buy to Plenty.
Yeah.
Buy to Plenty, for me, was the damn joint.
For real. Yeah, that made a lot of noise back then. Yeah.
I salute all you guys for that joint, because to this day, that is something, if I were to play a hip hop set, I would drop that in a heartbeat.
For real. That's dope.
Easy, because you can. You know what I mean? You could drop that in a set easy. You just got to know how to do it.
Yeah,
you got to have the timing.
Buy to Plenty was a fun record. Obviously talking about the ladies of Toronto and how hard it is to pick them up sometimes. It was fun for us to do. Shouts to Corey Dees. Another shout to Corey Dees, who produced it and basically came up with that whole thing. If I could go back in time, though, the only thing I would do is I would arrange it differently so that it's not more than 5 minutes long. As Monolith, you have to understand, these are the early days of us collaborating as songwriters. So bar counting and like song arrangement, we're trying to squeeze everybody in there. And
you can tell.
Man,
everyone get on quick.
It's a good track. It's a long one though. Yeah,
it is.
It's
Yeah. Sometimes with that joint, you either decide whose verse you're gonna mix out of, or you play the whole joint.
Well, yeah, that's true, man. And like I said, I would love to do, if I take it in the studio and do an edit, just like on like the intro. I was doing this. I think it was influenced by the Jungle Brothers or Africa Bambaataa, like zugga zugga za. I did this little intro,
I can see that.
and that's what it was, a homage to them. but
I can see that.
it just took too long. Then we got to the chorus before the first verse even starts. I would totally rearrange. I'd take all that out. Start
How
on
long
a
was
hook.
that intro? How long was the intro?
Oh, dude, I think at least 8 bars, and then another 8 bars of chorus,
and not an intro DJ edit.
No, man. Anyway,
that's how the song actually was.
Totally, but you know, yeah, that's it. Still had a lot of love.
Clips?
But we never did. You know what? We never got to shoot a Buy to Plenty video.
TOP?
We do. So shouts to my brother Michael P. Douglas, who directed those videos.
That was a dope video.
Yeah, we did At the Top, and we did Plan A, which were the 2 other cuts as part of the 12-inch we released.
Right.
Buy to Plenty was the first joint and the first. So I'm going to tell you right now, back in those days, nothing was digital, and we had to apply to Video Fact to get funding to shoot a music video on film. So back then, if you didn't get a grant, you really didn't have money to shoot videos, so you couldn't do them. Buy to Plenty was our first submission. It was turned down. We were lucky, for whatever reason, we were lucky to get the At the Top video and the Plan A video. Now, had Buy to Plenty been approved, it was going to be a Jerry Springer-like talk show thing where we're on there talking about these girls. That's what would have happened had there been a video shoot. I remember that because I was in charge. I actually put together the grant applications. Okay. So that's the one song from the 12-inch we didn't shoot a video for, but it was the lead single. So I'm glad everyone still enjoyed it, man.
Yeah, man.
Fun
Love
record.
that shit. Love that shit.
Man.
When I hit you up last week and told you I found those joints, I was literally floored because I was looking for some other joints and I just stumbled on them. Saying, what the hell is this? And then I found a couple more. I'm like, yo, that's why I sent you the screenshot. Like, look what I just found, man. This is crazy. Because I haven't even heard those joints in like I don't even know how long.
Same.
You know what I mean? It's not on DSPs or anything.
No.
So it's not like you can just, you know what I mean?
No, it's all before then, man.
And I'm too lazy to go in the basement and find records.
I hear you.
You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. So I keep them all in one section. That's where they stay.
I'll be real, man. Like I don't play vinyl as much anymore. And you kind of get to that point where it's like, well, I see now why when everyone else was already digital before I was, because out of all the homies, I was like the last to go digital because I was trying to be, you know, hip hop.
You know, it's funny you say that because I went through that same exact process.
Yeah, man.
In fact, sitting right behind me is this is the original French pressing of the Dear Hip Hop album. The record label is called Sergeant Records. Crazy. And Sergeant Records is based in France, and this was pressed in 2014. Now, as Jay Boogie said, everybody who doesn't know, Dear Hip Hop dropped in 96. Yeah, in 1996, all it was a licensed single to a compilation.
Yes.
So effectively, Dear Hip Hop was never actually released as a single.
Exactly.
Now, it has now, if you look up top, this is the Dear Hip Hop 45, which just came out as part of the 25th anniversary a couple years ago. So you can, just want everybody to know, Dear Hip Hop is available on vinyl now. You can go to danio.com or herbnet.com. It is available on vinyl. But when Sergeant put out the Dear Hip Hop album, firstly, I didn't even have the album mastered. It was sitting on a DAT tape from the 1990s. Okay. I know I have it. So shouts to my brother Mike Smith at Phase One Studios, who does my mastering. We located a DAT machine, stuck the DAT tape in there, extracted all of the songs, mastered the songs. I even discovered a remix of Dear Hip Hop that Corey D's did that I forgot about. And we pressed it to vinyl. So this existed on vinyl and is no longer available. It was a one-time pressing. So if you have this, you have it. But to your point, all hip hop, right? It's an all vinyl release. You know, Dear Hip Hop's out on vinyl. If you don't have Rap Essentials or the vinyl, you can't get it. Meanwhile, digital streaming is now a thing. And because digital streaming is now a thing, you can locate Danny O on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and the like, but you can't find Dear Hip Hop. This is 10 years ago. You can't find Dear Hip Hop. And I start going, yo, this is not going to make any sense for there to be my music is available, but not that record. So,
exactly.
This album was, like I said, pressed to vinyl in 2014. In 2017, the reason that there is an album called Dear Hip Hop 20 years later is because in celebration of the 20th anniversary of the record, I thought this has got to get to digital streaming platforms.
Yeah.
And so as of 2017, this entire album, plus some bonus cuts that were made in the vein of the 90s, make up the album Dear Hip Hop 20 Years Later. That can be streamed everywhere. It's available, of course, on CD for people who enjoy collecting still. But yeah, it's funny you say that. That was the moment where I realized, okay, as much as I'm still a vinyl head and a physical copy guy, I have to embrace the world of digital streaming, because you know what? That's where most people get their music. And now, you know, like I said, when I'm teaching workshops with the kids yesterday, they're like, "Are you on Spotify? Are you on?" So
You
if
want to be
your
able to
answer
relate?
is if your answer isn't yes, like you're just cutting out all kinds of new music listeners. And
Straight up.
I've grown to appreciate Spotify, for example, as you know, my go-to, like how I'm going to hear brand new music, how I play it in the car, how I play it in when I'm in the gym with my earbuds in. It's all Spotify. And I'm glad you mentioned that. I know we haven't gotten to it yet, but it has taken me. So what's that? 2017 was it 7 years later? All this time has helped me to really dig into how to release music with this added step of understanding how to market through the digital streaming platforms. And I'm very proud to announce my brand new single, Cleanse My Soul, with MASTA, Ace, and Century, has been added to my knowledge, between Spotify and Apple Music, a half dozen playlists. And before then, I never thought about playlists. I never considered, I didn't even know what they were. You know what I mean? So now you got to understand those platforms and know that, guess what? That's how people are going to hear your song. So we can be mad about it, or we can adapt to, hey man, it's 2024 and people pull out their phones and play their music, as opposed to this collection behind me. And I do both now. And as an artist, I've really taken to, okay, I'm gonna push this in the digital sense, because this is how people are going to get their ears on it. And if I ignore it, then, you know, I'm asking to fail.
We're going to get to Cleanse My Soul in like 2 shakes. But one thing I want to bring up, and I'm glad you said what you just said, because we were going to kind of go on there with the experience you have in the industry, with the experience you have specifically in the Canadian music industry.
Yeah.
And looking now in 2024 and seeing the evolution of the Canadian music industry. What have you learned, apart from what you just said? What have you learned about how you've been putting out music?
Well, that would definitely be the biggest thing. And I've also learned, I will add to that, to answer your question, how to market myself on social media. I am not even close to being an expert on how to market on social media. In fact, on my last album, The Day It All Changed, the very first line of Worth All to Hurt, another shout to Century, is, I'm not that social media savvy. You know, like, I'm just straight not. However, that has been the biggest thing that I've learned. I can tell you, with the release of Cleanse My Soul and all my forthcoming records, for the first time in my career, I have created all this content complete with captions for people to read. You know, like, you're going to laugh, and I'm okay with this. I only got on TikTok like last month, you know, like utilizing and look at what we're doing, right? We're on StreamYard, bro. So obviously there was a time where if I wasn't calling into your radio station or showing up in person, we can't do this. So this is what we've learned, right? This technology, social media, streaming, video conferencing, all of the technology that exists that allows us to connect with people has been my biggest lesson. Because like I said, I went from Dear Hip Hop's only available on vinyl to making it available digitally. And Dear Hip Hop, no surprise, has far surpassed anything else, any other of my songs, as far as the streams that it's received. So people are looking to put it in quotes, to dig in the crates digitally. And it works. So social media has to be something that I use to communicate my messages in ways that people enjoy, that entertain them, but also intrigue them enough to want to check out what I'm doing. So again, bro, literally only in the past couple of weeks have I learned captioning my videos and creating promos specifically for these different platforms. And you know, it's been working. People have been taking to it. You know, like I busted my verse of Cleanse My Soul in a captioned social media video. I know people have been doing that for years.
Like, look at him go.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I know people have been doing that for years. And I'm like, yeah, look at me now. You know, so
No, but
I'm
it's
still
proper,
learning, to be
yo. It's
honest.
proper. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
proper.
and
I was
that's
actually happy to see that, to be honest. I was happy to see that because
yeah. Thanks,
this is
man.
leading into my next question.
Yeah.
For artists who've been plying their trade in the Canadian music industry and learning to evolve
Yeah.
with the Canadian music industry and learning to evolve with the tastes and the directions
Mhm.
that everyone's going in. What do you think is important for artists who have been doing this for a minute to understand about what we've been talking about, the whole aspect of getting yourself on social media
Mhm.
and getting out there?
Yeah, I think it's just that. I think that some of us are so deeply tied into the way we started in the game that we refuse to let go of it. You and I are examples of people who are deeply tied to the roots of this thing and the type of music we like and the type of energy we put into it, the type of messages, etc. We probably still listen to stuff that was made 30 years ago.
Oh yeah.
If you a hip hop head, 30 years ago, we're talking about Tribe, Wu-Tang, Souls of Mischief, De La Soul. I mean, of course we're going to listen to that. But, as I say De La Soul, my favorite group, they're a perfect example of how to answer that question. De La Soul's entire catalog exists in physical form, and I
Yep.
own it all. So
Yep.
when De La Soul was, of course, in a heated battle with Tommy Boy to reclaim the rights of their
Yeah.
music, one of the main purposes of that is that, it wasn't available digitally.
Yeah.
Now, on one side, I could say, look, I'm such a big fan of De La Soul. I have all of their music. I'm not worried if it's streaming. I can play it
Yep.
anytime I
Nope.
want.
Same deal.
The flip side of that is, how convenient it would be to flip on any one of my favorite De La records again while I'm driving or in the gym or wherever else for that matter. Not to mention, more importantly than me, all of the music fans out there who don't own any De La Soul because they might be new. Like my daughter is a De La Soul fan, right?
Hey.
And she has added songs to her playlist. That's how she listens to De La Soul. So the music is amazing, but how people are consuming the music has changed. So to older heads like us, yeah, get up on it. This is a new world where people are streaming music. And we, of
Yeah.
course, are watching videos online as opposed to sitting in front of the television waiting for it to show up. Things have changed. So I, slowly but surely, have learned that in spite of the fact that, yes, I'm a real hip hop head and will always stick to my guns, and the music I'm making is going to be in a specific vein that represents me to the fullest, and my audience will hopefully enjoy it. How you're going to receive it has changed. Yes, it's still available on vinyl and CD. There are many of you out there who collect. I am a collector, but the vast majority of today's audience, they're not on it like that. So you can fight against the grain or do the smart thing and go, I'm going to connect with everybody that I want to have hear my music because I know where they're listening to it, including
Yeah.
older heads. But, older
Oh
heads are
yeah.
listening. They're streaming, like,
For
let's be
sure.
real. So, and they're on social media too.
Oh yeah.
So, just get with it, man. I am one. Listen, I'm one of you. I'm one of those, man. I don't want to have to do it. Hey,
Got it
figure it
now.
out. You got
Yeah.
you got to. And listen, if you don't want to do it yourself, get some help in doing it. I
Yeah.
have a
Higher.
team that helps out,
Yeah.
and publicity is something that I'm not a super expert on that, but you gotta connect with the rest of the world, and this is how people are doing it.
When back in the 90s, maybe the early 2 watts, mid 2 watts, getting your record out to DJs to play
Yeah.
was a matter of building your mail list, building
Hmm.
your mail list and connecting with all the college shows and all the DJs and getting at that network wide as possible.
Yeah.
But in 2024, folks aren't doing that anymore.
Hmm.
Some are, because there are some DJs that are still, you got your shows on Sirius, you know what I mean, that are
Hmm.
still kind of, we got to make sure we get played by this particular show because they've still got a pulse. They're on Sirius, so they've still got a pulse.
Hmm.
But for artists now in 2024, independent artists now, if you want to get your record out there and you don't have a mailer list that you've cultivated over
Hmm.
10, 20 years, stayed in contact with the
Hmm.
DJs or the
Hmm.
MDs or the PDs,
Hmm.
social media
Yeah.
is your network now. If you didn't
Yeah.
have the network before, social media is your network now.
For sure. It's not just your network. It also happens to be your, once again, shouts to Maestro, because I remember him saying this around the time the Dear Hip Hop record was coming out, because I put him on it. He's on one of the
Yeah.
newer joints. And he was like, our music used to be our product.
Yep.
It's not anymore.
No.
Our music is your commercial for the product, and the product is you,
Yes.
the artist.
Exactly. Thank you.
And yeah,
Thank
it
you.
was definitely wise words, man. Words of wisdom for sure from the Godfather. And
Yep.
I took that to heart, and I know it to be true, because for the most part, the money that an artist is going to make is not from the music itself that the audience is consuming. It's from the artist performing the music.
Yes.
The bulk of my income as an artist comes by way of me performing at shows, hosting at shows, conducting workshops. Everything that I do as Danny O, the artist, that's where I earn my money. The commercial is the music that gets you to know that I am an active, working performer. Now, with the exception of all of the product that I still print and sell at my live events, sure, vinyl and CD sales are cool. They do earn me some money. But as all artists should know,
all artists,
streaming is not going to pad your pockets that well.
Especially now.
So I look at streaming services and social media as kind of all one and the same, man. They're all connected, literally connected. I mean, I remember discovering not that long ago that when you're on Spotify, you can click a button to share this link to your song or to a profile on Instagram and Facebook. So they're all linked. It's all connecting with people. And so in a way, the streaming services we have in effect is like social media, because this is how you're connecting through your music. And it is links to, people click on it and hear it.
Can we be honest about the streaming services, the Spotify's, what have you? Can we be honest? Those are social media platforms. They're not music platforms. They're social media platforms. And I think people don't realize that.
I think that's a fair
They're not
statement.
music streaming. They're honestly not. The music is what draws you in.
Yeah. I think in many ways what you're saying is true. For example, YouTube, which we all recognize as like, well, that's where you watch videos. YouTube is a streaming service because literally everything that is distributed, and big, huge shouts out to Urbnet, fantastic hip hop label.
Great relationship you have.
Great relationship. Always have had one. And they've been they're celebrating their 25th anniversary later this year. Trust me. Big up to Daryl, big up Janusz. Let me tell you, Urbnet is a perfect example because it's even in their name, where they understand that using the internet to distribute urban music became a necessity. All those years ago, they figured that out.
They did.
And so why I bring up YouTube is because now when Urbnet distributes my music, on the exact same day and moment that Spotify, Apple Music, wherever else, Deezer, Tidal, Amazon Music, YouTube is right there with them as uploading that song. So there are people who go, very few, but the people, I don't have Spotify. You can go to YouTube and play my brand new song or album. Because, and to your point, YouTube is social media because yes, you can comment. Yes, you can send messages. Like that is what social media is. You can comment, you can like, you can, communicate with others. So can you share music on Instagram? Obviously you can. Can you share music on Facebook? All of these things they work hand in hand. So while there are places where you go for music, absolutely they function like social media accounts.
Speaking of music.
Yes, sir. Isn't that what we're doing?
This
man.
brand new single.
Let's
Cleanse
go.
My Soul, coming out on Black History Month.
Yes.
And you opened that song pretty strong, man.
Thank you, sir. I think I did. Yeah.
I remember when I first heard, like, oh shit, he's going there.
Yeah.
He's going there.
Yeah,
but let's talk about the song. It's not necessarily about that one verse. Let's talk about the song. What was the mindset behind recording the song?
Well, for the record, the song is part of a forthcoming larger project and is an extremely huge and important piece of the puzzle. And the puzzle is an entire story about the world we live in right now and how it can really get under your skin. We just finished talking about social media. In many ways, as you very well know, social media is misused to either perpetuate falsehoods or to, disseminate negativity and hatred. So there's a song that I've written about that. There is gun violence that exists in our world. There's a song about that. Anti-Black racism is a huge problem in our world. There's a song about that. Self-hatred in the Black community, again, connected to all the things that I just finished talking about, is a problem in our society that I felt obviously needed some attention in a song. We can go as far back as self-destruction by the Stop the Violence movement in 1989. When we are destroying ourselves, that's one of the biggest problems that we can possibly have. So I felt it was an important message for the overall story. And to your point, Black History Month, I thought it was important to lead with it because, there are MCs, including Kanye West, who we're referring to here, who was a hero to me. First 5 albums for sure, classics. I still love them. Like I can't think of anyone saying that he didn't create a lot of wonderful music for us. But something happened to this dude. And I think for a dude to come out and literally praise Adolf Hitler and say a lot of the insane things he said, I was just like, nah, like this is the kind of thing. Hip hop has always done an amazing job of policing itself. So when someone does something whack, what happens? Someone drops a diss record. Why throughout the history of hip hop have we kept battling alive? Because that's what hip hop is truly one of the main things that it's all about. So what? Boogie Down Productions goes against, MC Shan or whatever, or like whatever. Cannabis and LL had their thing. Kumo D and LL had their thing. I don't have to go through the history of rap battles. I'm not even suggesting that Cleanse My Soul is a Kanye diss record. It really isn't.
It's not.
But
it's not.
Right. Exactly. What it is a calling to a call to action, so to speak, for people out there to go, yo, don't mistake the things that Kanye, and it's not just him, but the things that he'll say. Candace Owens, I call her out on this album too. When you say certain things against your own people, it's going to manifest itself into things that are a lot worse than just talking shit. In the same song, I mentioned the murder of Tyree Nichols, a Black man, at the hand of 5 Black police officers. I say in the song, I go, when you take Kanye's words lightly, it's this type of thing that happens. It's not a joke. We are killing each other. And there's so many different ways in which we've done that. Now, a song you can only put so much information in one song. And shouts to Master Ace, the legend who blessed me by collaborating with me. He talks about other versions of self-hate as well. At the end of the day, I just thought it was such an important message and such a big track for me. Because again, as I said, Master Ace being on it made it a bucket list moment for me. And I thought this would be a very strong way to lead off with a new single, first time in a few years. And, promote everything that I'm doing musically and all the records to come.
No, for real. And, Ace was dope on that shit still, but it's not like you needed him on the record. The record is powerful enough on its own.
Yeah.
Having Ace on the record is kind of like icing on the cake.
I was just going to say, it's an honor for you to say that, and I appreciate it. But I do think Ace's contribution to me is so much more than just, hey, I got one of my favorite rappers of all time on a song with me. It wasn't just about the collabo. To your point, why we released it in Black History Month is because to have Ace's contribution to the song, the message that he is contributing to the overall message of Cleanse My Soul, to me, strengthens the message. In other words, you could take these words from Danny O, and that's cool. I'll stand on my own 2 feet, and I'm very proud of myself. But to have Master Ace essentially like co-sign the message to say that, this is something important. So are we making a dope hip hop track? Absolutely. Do we have something to say that you don't have to just take from me, but from the legend himself? I think that's what really helps drive the point home, is that you have it's a 2 heads are better than 1 scenario, in that I'm not the only one who feels this way. We have something to say, and I think we're 2 important people to listen to, because there are messages in music, but depending on who's delivering the message, it may or may not get to the right ears. I think having Ace on the record is going to help it get to some ears where it really needs to get to, and I can't thank him enough for that.
Yo, big up Century Sam.
Oh, big time.
Killed that. Listen, bodied that hook, yo.
I love Century so much. Shouts to Century. Brand new single, Water, dropped today. So that's her new solo joint from Century. Just came out today. I know there's more to come. When I met Century, I think we got to go back at least 6, maybe 7 years. I think it was at a
Okay.
showcase where she was performing, and she was the first performer, and I was a judge. I didn't need to see anybody
Okay.
else when she got off stage. I knew she was going to be the best one of the night. Not to mention, in getting to talk to her, she just has such a fun and down to earth vibe that I really liked her. I said, you know what, we're going to work together. And sure enough, here we are years later. We've collaborated on 5 different songs. And I haven't been able to scrap any of them. You know, we'll make records and be like, which one's going to make the album? Like, I'm using all these. So she
Nice.
appears on 3 songs on The Day It All Changed.
Oh,
And
say
on
word.
my forthcoming record, we got 2 more. And of course, Cleanse My Soul is one of them. Her voice is raw and real. What you hear is what you get.
She dope.
No bullshit. And hella talented and amazing person. So much love, Century, for sure.
No doubt. God damn. It's an important record though. And I love the
man.
timing. I love you dropped it when you did. It makes all the sense because you bring up a great point. Our biggest problem as humans is we don't learn from our mistakes.
Big time, man. If you're not learning from your mistakes, I don't know where you think you're gonna, where you're destined to go. It's nowhere good. All kinds of mistakes. A lot of this interview we talked about, like what I've learned over the course of this entire career, like moving towards like promoting yourself online, etc. Of course, some of the worst mistakes you can make are the ones that hurt others. Or, I grew up with some ignorant thinkings. I'm going to use that ignorant thoughts.
Oh yeah, we
thinkings.
all
Why did I
did.
say
We
that?
all did.
Ignorant thoughts. And we said, silly
man.
shit when we were younger.
Oh yeah.
And you grow up. You should be experienced. You should learn from those mistakes. You should be like, what?
Should make you feel embarrassed.
You should be embarrassed about some of the dumb shit you did.
Yeah.
And you know what? We're all guilty of that. We've all done some fuck shit at some point.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And if you're a grown-ass adult who can't look at your teenage years and go, oh, shit, what was I thinking? Then I don't know where you're at in life. So we're not just talking about professional. These are the personal types of growth that are necessary.
Straight up.
And yeah, that stuff has to get injected into my music because, I think that's the best music, the shit that is personal and that is real. Yeah.
Because it resonates.
Absolutely, man.
And there will be a lot of people that it will resonate with.
Yeah, man.
So well put. Oh my God.
Respect.
Daniel, my man, we could go on forever.
I know.
I swear.
Yeah.
But man, it's been a pleasure. Obviously,
yes, sir. Pleasure's mine.
Bredren from time.
Yeah, man.
Watching your progression. And that's, to me, that's been the one thing that, it makes your heart full to see someone you've known from time progress and still succeed and still be the person that they are in 2024. And that's why I look at you and I'm like, salute, dog.
Thanks,
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of your movements. And I love what you are doing. And I love that you are in 2024 doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much, man. That means the world, bro. And salute to you, brother. Because Jay Boogie, you've been doing it just as long. And to be honest with you, I think I can definitely speak for fellow artists. Without brothers like yourself who are willing to give us this type of platform and get our messages out there, like what we're doing is so much harder. So you're as much a part of the culture as anybody else, man, between, being
Respect,
a media
man.
personality, a DJ, everything that you bring to it is equally important. So listen, thank you for this opportunity. The pleasure was mine, man.
Respect every time. There's always room for you in the lounge space, dog. Always.
I'll be back.
In fact, for real, when the full length drops, you got to come back.
100% coming back. There's going to be a lot to talk about, for real.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
The new single, Cleanse My Soul, out now. Daniel featuring MASTA and Century Sam on all your platforms. Listen to that shit.
Yeah.
Take it in. Feel that shit. And if you've been following Daniel from time, you know this, man, because, a lot of us know you like that. Just know that if there's one thing I can say about Daniel is he's legitimate and he is for real.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'm honored. Thanks so much, brother.
And please extend my love to the entire Monolith family.
Sure.
There's too many of y'all to name.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But always love with the Mono fam. Mono love,
brother.
Day. God damn.
Sir. Yeah, man.
Respect to you, sir. Until we see you again in a lounge space, enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, bro.
Peace, dog.